5, 4.
Oh, you're so excited.
2.
I'm going to be tough.
1.
I'm going to be tough on this.
Welcome, NBA fans, to the official start of free agency.
All right, welcome, and we have plenty to talk about NBA free agency. Of course, ton of signings happening within the last 72 hours, and none more important than to lead with the Brooklyn Nets, who ended up picking up 3 major pieces for their team next year and in the future, signing Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to 4-year, $140 million contracts, and also adding DeAndre Jordan to a 4-year, $40 million contract.
Kevin Durant is going to sign with the Nets 4 years, $164 million.
This was a rejection of the Warriors and everything that he has done there in Golden State. But in a lot of ways, Rachel, this has been a rejection of the Warriors all year long.
The Brooklyn Nets owned this day. Sean Marks, Kenny Atkinson, that organization, what they have done in 3+ years, I mean, that organization was in disrepair. And to think that they could go out and get not only Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, they've got DeAndre Jordan coming in.
Really quick, this puts the Nets kind of at the forefront of the Eastern Conference. What kind of impact do you see this having on the Brooklyn Nets next year and in the future?
Honestly, they're one of the favorites. I feel like they'll be a top 4 seed with home court in the playoffs at least, and they're a team to be reckoned with, honestly, in the future, especially when KD comes back the season after next. There'll definitely be some trouble.
But there were also other things going on in the Eastern Conference, and certainly some that also affected the Brooklyn Nets, as their star from last season, D'Angelo Russell, agreed to a sign and trade on a 4-year, $117 million contract with the Golden State Warriors, putting him in a starting lineup with Stephen Curry, Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, and Alfonso McKinney, with the absence of Klay Thompson and his torn ACL.
The Warriors and Nets have agreed on a sign and trade, sending D'Angelo Russell to Golden State, 4 years, $117 million. So D'Angelo Russell headed back to California and the Western Conference. He was the 2nd overall pick in 2015 with the Lakers. Last season, Russell had a breakout season for the Nets. 23-year-old had career highs in points per game and assists per game while shooting a career high 43%. He was one of 4 guards in the NBA last season to start in at least 81 games and average over 20 points per game. And for more, we now welcome in CBS Sports NBA writer Colin Ward-Henninger. And Colin, D'Angelo Russell on a sign and trade to the Warriors. Your reaction here?
I think I'm about to fall over and pass out based on what's been going on today. This has been the most active first day of free agency that I can remember, and to have this towards the end of the night when maybe we thought things were starting to slow down a little bit. But I mean, the big thing here is that the Warriors are getting something for Kevin Durant. Obviously, there was fear that they would lose him for nothing, and we can talk about later how Russell fits in with the rest of this team. But at the end of the day, you're getting an all-star for a many-time All-NBA player, so you do leave with something. So obviously a shocking development, but something that kind of had rumors and murmurs throughout the day.
Klay Thompson did sign a 5-year, $190 million extension. With these changes at the Golden State Warriors, how do their odds look in the Western Conference where they are not the clear favorite?
Honestly, it leaves them a little shaky with the D. Russell signing. I think they're not going to keep him. They're going to ship him off somewhere in the midseason. It's just to where they're not the favorites. They'll probably barely make the playoffs, honestly, with how the West is looking, but we'll see how things go, though, honestly.
I definitely agree with some of what you said there, especially seeing that the Western Conference is not going to be the powerhouse it has been within the last 5 to 6 years. But you still have some tough teams to deal with, especially looking at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Houston Rockets are still going to be there. They still won't be giving you easy games. And then looking at the Portland Trail Blazers, who retooled getting Damian Lillard to that max contract extension, as well as trading for Hassan Whiteside. Now, back to things in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics losing 2 of their major pieces with Kyrie Irving and Al Horford, but they retooled, signing Kemba Walker to the largest contract in franchise history of 4 years, $141 million.
As we were getting prepared to start, you said today was surreal. What part about this day is the hardest part to kind of make sense of?
I think the hardest part for me is, having to, leave the city and the organization that I've been a part of for 8 years. The organization that gave me my first opportunity to go from a boy to a man in this league. Charlotte, the place that I love very much. It was a really tough decision, but something I had to do in order to try and fulfill some dreams of mine and compete. So, it's one of the toughest things, I definitely had to do in my career.
So as this is coming into focus and you're working through that, what was the most important determining factor to tell you I got to leave this place behind me and move on to the next thing?
I think that's what it was, moving on to the next thing. Just moving on to a whole new chapter in my basketball career. I gave that city, I gave that organization every single thing I could possibly give them. And now, it's about competing at the highest level, which, we all know Boston is doing that year in, year out. And I want to be a part of something, really special as far as, being able to compete at the highest level and, give myself the best opportunity to make a run in the playoffs.
Adding Enes Kanter for 2 years and $10 million. Adding that to Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Gordon Hayward. How do you like the Celtics going into next year with their new look?
Honestly, I like this new team. With Kemba at the point, I think he's going to put in work. He's going to give them all that he can. And with Enes Kanter as the new big now, he's going to give them defense and rebounding. If they can just add some more bench pieces, some more shooters maybe, the Boston Celtics will be just fine, I think, without Kyrie.
Also touching on what that affected in the Eastern Conference, you have Al Horford staying in the division. He goes to the 76ers, and with their loss of Jimmy Butler, they signed Tobias Harris to a 5-year Supermax. So how does that affect the 76ers, who now have a very big lineup with less shooting but perhaps more defense and more grit?
I think they need to add a few pieces. Maybe Danny Green, he's still out there. They need more shooters. They have a good big front line, very defensive, but they need to be, like you said, more mobile, like we talked about earlier. It's just going to be, I feel like, stagnant. And with Tobias Harris being the go-to man later on in games, I feel like that won't mesh well. So they need to find more shooters or more people who can score the bucket, I believe, or score the basket, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I think the 76ers put themselves in a really good position with their front court. I mean, without Horford and Joel Embiid, it's going to be very tough for a small, talented guard to be able to work their way inside the paint and make things happen. I mean, you have two of the best rim defenders in all of basketball right there, but you lose Jimmy Butler, you lose J.J. Redick, you lose kind of that perimeter shooting ability that the Sixers were at least able to mix in there within the past couple of years. So they are going to need to add more pieces. With them losing Jimmy Butler, who surprisingly goes to the Miami Heat.
According to Adrian Wojnarowski, Miami is finalizing a sign and trade with Philadelphia to acquire Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler, there we go. That domino has fallen, which is really interesting because it affects Philadelphia, right? Which thinks that which thought that they were a bounce or two away from Kawhi Leonard. Affects the Heat, obviously, and could affect the Clippers, who are now not going to pair Jimmy Butler with Kawhi Leonard. Do you know what all of that deserves? All of that deserves.
Here it comes.
Him, Miles Leonard, head out there. That puts him in a potential starting five with Bam Adebayo, Kelly Olynyk, Dion Waiters, and Goran Dragic. Not exactly what you see to be a star-studded starting five. So what does this put the Miami Heat in going into next year in the weakest division in the Eastern Conference?
Man, the Heat, if they make the playoffs, it'll be by the skin of their nose, I believe. They'll be a solid 7 and 8 seed. Don't get me wrong, it's probably a team you don't want to face when it comes to playoff time, but it's going to be hard with the East looking how it looks right now with every team stacked or retooling and rebuilding. They did sign Mo Harkless. Well, not sign, get Mo Harkless in the trade. That's a good addition. So maybe we'll see, but it's going to be a struggle with how the East is looking now. Jimmy's going to have to be their number one star, their go-to player for everything, defense, offense. So we'll see, though. Yeah, very interesting.
Absolutely, and I think, for the gamblers out there, I think maybe putting money on Jimmy Butler to win the MVP wouldn't be a horrible decision. Looking at just the fact that he wouldn't be the most likely person out there, but he's going to have to be the guy every night, and if there's going to be a guy that has the opportunity to score 30 to 32 points every night, it's going to have to be him if his team's going to have a chance to win. Heading out west, the Dallas Mavericks made some moves. They signed Seth Curry for 4 years, $32 million.
Well deserved.
Absolutely, and a guy that's actually going back to a team that he was already on, and then you take a look at Kristaps Porzingis. He signs a Supermax with Dallas, and he at least they are hoping, will be back in full shape for next year. So the Dallas Mavericks, of course, having the Rookie of the Year and Luka Doncic, looking to put themselves in a position to get back into playoff contention. What do you think the odds of that happening are?
Well, I'll say this. The future is very bright. I don't know about the playoffs this year. Maybe next year if they add some more pieces in the draft, free agency. But the future is very bright with Luka, Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn. They can do some things in the West. With now the West being depleted, it's not as it used to be.
Definitely, and I think that that's a team that really has a lot of strengths in perimeter shooting, and that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, especially against other teams in that division. You know, looking at them going up against the New Orleans Pelicans team, who just added J.J. Redick, is going to be a lot of fun in that Southwest division.
That's going to be a scary team.
Absolutely, and they have a really good future ahead of them. Back over to some minor moves in the Eastern Conference, kind of concentrating on what we have going on locally. The Chicago Bulls didn't land any major free agents, but did make some moves. They signed Thaddeus Young to a 3-year deal and also pick up Tomas Satoransky from the Washington Wizards in a sign and trade. So obviously nothing too flattering for the Chicago Bulls. How does this fit in with their current core that they have going on?
Honestly, I don't like the signings. I feel like they gave Thaddeus Young too much money. He's on his last leg. He's been in the league, what, at least a good 10 years. $41 million, I don't think he deserves it. But, hey, we'll see how it goes, man. Hopefully the Bulls can do a Nets thing, start building, retooling, get some draft picks, and maybe we'll see better days because right now it's not looking too bright for us.
Yeah, definitely not the best position for the Chicago Bulls to be in. And then really looking at Thaddeus Young, I do like the move from some standpoints, especially looking at the fact that he's been a guy that has a lot of experience. He has playoff experience, was on some of those Andre Iguodala-led Philadelphia 76ers teams, of course, was a big part of those Pacers teams. And while he was never and really has never been a great offensive player, I think he's somebody that can really enhance the defense of some of these younger pieces that the Chicago Bulls have and give them that veteran presence in the front court that they've been looking for a while. So perhaps some good things there. I know there are a lot of Bulls fans hoping that Derrick Rose would be returning to Chicago, and perhaps the opposite happens. He signs with the rival Detroit Pistons.
2-year, $15 million.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good deal, especially fitting in with Blake Griffin and seeing what Rose was able to bring to the table last year.
Him and Reggie Jackson could be a good combination, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Good backcourt there, and you could see Derrick Rose perhaps get some more time to play off the ball. Let's talk about what's still going on and who is still left on the market. Of course, the big name there, Kawhi Leonard, who is not yet signed with the team.
Of course, the big name still yet to fall in the NBA free agency world is Kawhi Leonard. Adrian Wojnarowski's been reporting for quite some time. The 3 teams are really in the mix. Of course, Toronto, where he led them to a championship, and the 2 teams in Los Angeles, not far from where he grew up, the Lakers and the Clippers. The Raptors, though, are expected to get the last meeting with Kawhi. Then it's just a matter of where he wants to play.
Well, you're hearing from the Lakers side that they've got a better shot than the Clippers. You're hearing from the Clippers side that they've got a better shot from the Lakers. Kawhi's side, nobody knows because Kawhi doesn't talk. He's going to make his decision when he damn well feels like it, and that's really the situation. He's earned it.
I feel like Kawhi may stay home. He might do a 1-1 and go stay in Toronto and then see what his options are after that. I really don't see LA with the Lakers. I don't like that fit, and that doesn't fit who Kawhi is. He doesn't want to really take a back seat. He'll really be the third option on that team, and I don't think that fits him well. He won a ring in Toronto with some no-name guys or just regular players, so I think he wants to keep that mold. Maybe the Clippers, we'll see. He is a SoCal guy. He maybe wants to go back home. So honestly, I feel like it's between Toronto and the Clippers.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. I mean, of course, there's a lot of incentive for him to stay in Toronto. Toronto's kind of stayed put so far in the offseason, kind of waiting for him and Danny Green, for that matter, to make their move. But he's somebody that I think would really fit in well if he stays with that Toronto team. I think the Lakers really took a risk here because a lot of those pieces that they maybe could have picked up to fill up the roster are now gone. You know, you see Trevor Ariza, Derrick Rose, they've all signed elsewhere. So the Lakers are putting themselves in a position to where they're kind of forcing themselves to get Kawhi.
They went all in on Kawhi, and they may come up short, honestly. But sticking with the Western Conference, a lot of teams retool, like the Utah Jazz were signing Bojan Bogdanovic to a 4-year, $73 million deal. I like that addition, honestly. I feel like he can add shooting to that team. We've got Mike Conley. They have Donovan Mitchell. So I feel like the Jazz are a team to be reckoned with in the West now.
Yeah, but you're looking at a 5 seed from the Utah Jazz. So
probably can get home court advantage. Who knows? Maybe they can come out the West if everything stays healthy for them.
Yeah, they're a really tight defensive team. I mean, you're looking at a guy that has a Defensive Player of the Year award in Rudy Gobert, outstanding backcourt that you're working with that Utah team. And then, yeah, you have Mike Conley, one of the better defensive guards to replace Ricky Rubio. I kind of consider that to be a bit of a wash. And then you add Bogdanovich to already an outstanding shooter in Joe Ingles. So a good look for the Utah Jazz. And overall, a lot of exciting things going on in NBA free agency.
Thanks for listening to our recap of Day 1 of NBA free agency, brought to you by Triple Threat Sports.